Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gash, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gash Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
It's a warm reception to our studio here in Sarukunda. This is Star TV News with me, Dada Cham. In headlines tonight, NOWEC top official visit new water plants treatment projects. Lady Sergeant Barlow received medical equipment and face masks from SMJ. Fishing sector seriously affected by COVID-19 regulations. Negative impact of COVID-19 on media outlets. Kunkujanketia youths appeal for government intervention in their land dispute. Bungalows break into shops at Serikunda Market. On the international scene, International Criminal Court condemns US sanction on officials. Libya's GNA Haftar allies disrupted municipal elections in East. Zimbabwean protest leader freed on bail in fourth attempt. Those were the headlines, now the news in details. Officials of the National Water and Electricity Company on Wednesday paid a site visit to the ongoing water treatment plants under construction within the Greater Banjul area. As our reporter Mariama Dem tells us more about the site visit, the water plant construction is almost completed and it is under the Indian Energy and Water Project in the country.
The site visit was aimed to assess the progress of the new ongoing water treatment plants in Mahmuda, Jambur and Sukota. The project is worth $22.5 million and it comprises 10 boreholes, 34 kilometers of transmission line and 173 kilometers of distribution network. The water treatment plant's construction upon completion is expected to ease the water shortage problem in the Greater Banjul area. Alhaji Diba, Sewage and Water Director of NOWEC, has this to say as the project is on its final phase.
That is within GBA and some of the regions in the North Bank. That's the total project composition. They have a storage tank, replacement of transfer pumps, installation of new transfer pumps, and also the project is equipped with a SCADA system to be able to monitor our total borehole of 34 boreholes to be remote controlled and monitored from this project. Also, interesting part also, we'll be able to operate some of our tank facilities like Fajara and Kanifing should be able to operate from the main base at Sukuta. That is how interesting this project was designed. Now at the moment we have gone very far. Today is one thing we want to do is to hand over this building. The contractor is ready to hand over this other component because now we are in the handing over phase. We have seen it earlier in the beginning in the morning. You have seen the borehole. Already the pump is installed. We tested and you see the water was flowing out already. The transmission line from the boreholes all the way to the treatment plant completed. From the treatment plant to Fajara and Kanifing also the transmission lines completed. So by and large, 97% of that part of the work is completed. So we are on the testing, pressure testing, disinfection, only left for that component of the project.
While speaking to journalists during the site visit, Nani Juara, the managing director of NAWEC, acknowledged that he understands that certain places are not getting water as expected, but these areas will soon see improvements in terms of their supply, as this project is part of efforts to ease the water shortage problems within the Greater Banjul area.
And we realized that it has also suffered some setback, but nonetheless we've seen the efforts that the contractor and the consultant are making to ensure that the project is completed on time. We went to some sites, the borehole sites, and also the water treatment plants. We've realized that almost about 10 boreholes have been dug, all completed now, just waiting for the transmission line to be connected so that pumping can start in earnest. As you have seen, they've already started pumping from one of the boreholes, but we still have a number of boreholes that are still out there, almost about 9 additional, that's good, about 10. That will be available hopefully in the next coming 2 months. They'll be ready for full operations because we're just waiting for the transmission line to be ready. So when these boreholes are ready, we are very optimistic that the production capacity will be increased significantly, and that will help to reduce the complaints that we are currently experiencing from our customers. We have a number of areas that are seriously affected right now. This includes areas in Kololi, Canifings, the pipeline areas and so. But all efforts are being made now to ensure that we complete this project as soon as possible so that at least the problems those people are now facing would be mitigated.
However, when asked what NAWEC is doing about the recent electricity shortage drama, Mr. Juara had this to say.
Right now, as we speak, we have procured a lot of spare parts for a number of generators that were not in operation for a while. And if you look at the total capacity of those generators that are not currently in operation, it's almost about 30 plus megawatts. So currently, we have received parts for some of the engines. And as of last week, one of the engines the repairs on it was completed and it's back into operations. This week as well, we have received some parts last week and we are fixing another generator of about 6 megawatts capacity. And with these additions, we are hoping that the gap would be closed because we currently have 67 megawatts available during peak load as opposed to 70 megawatts, which is the peak load demand. So with additional 6 megawatts in play, we will close the gap. But let me say this, to be on record, that we are not saying we are going to solve the problem this month completely, simply because even the gensets that are also operating right now, some of them, they are almost due for maintenance. So along the way, these are old engines, some of them are really old engines. We maintaining them just because we couldn't have immediate replacement for some of them. So along the way, you will see some power cuts here and there. But it's not only about the generation capacity. We also have issues with the transmission and distribution network, which is also a major challenge for us this year. If you have observed that normally during the rainy season, we experience some of those outages. It's not because we don't have generation capacity in some instances, but because the network also is aged. So we are making efforts to rehabilitate the transmission and distribution network as well, and funding is available through the World Bank and other donors. So with all those efforts in place, we are very optimistic of the future that the power supply situation in this country would be modernized and normalcy will be there for prosperity.
People have been complaining of lack of water in their areas, but with these new treatment plants, the problem is most likely to be tackled according to the NAWEC officials. The construction of these treatment plants will be completed in January according to the contract Ajit Kulkarni. The site visit was followed by handing over the project's office in Fajara to the contractors. Maria Madem, reporting for Star TV News.
On Wednesday, the First Lady Sergeant Barlow Barrow received medical equipment and face masks from SMJ, and she expressed her appreciation for the support that SMJ has generously offered. Yamunda Okoka tells us more.
Mr. Sehum Barlow, the Deputy Youth Advisor to the President, spoke on behalf of Her Excellency Lady Sergeant Barlow Barrow. Mr. Barlow confirmed that it was the second time that the SMJ organization donated very important personal protective equipment to the community through Her Excellency Madam Sergeant Barlow Barrow. She also expressed her appreciation for the support that the SMJ is giving the community, the frontline healthcare workers and the patients who are confronting the battle of the COVID-19 pandemic.
And also to the frontline healthcare workers and also patients who are confronting this battle with the COVID-19 pandemic. Really she appreciate it, and she thank you people very much. Thank your managing director, that is Haji Karaga, who has been offering a lot to make sure that the challenges that we are facing are confronted by our frontline healthcare workers. Therefore, thank you very much.
Mr. Sehu calls on other Gambians to follow in the footsteps of Haji and the SMJ organizations so that they can conquer this pandemic. Usainu Bai Sankare also said that they should contribute in the country's development so that they can be well recognized by the government and the people. He also stated that if people are doing what Mr. Karaga is doing, then the country will move forward. A wife of the donor said that the face masks and the machines are important because the machines will be used in the laboratories to test malaria and other kinds of sicknesses. She concluded by thanking her husband for doing a good job for the community all the time. She ultimately urged the people to follow in her husband's footsteps. Yamundo Koka, Star TV News.
Both vendors selling fish and fishermen at the Bakau fishing site expressed their worries on the lack of availability of fish since the implementation of the regulations on the fight against the coronavirus in the country.
Speaking to Star TV, Ndaikoli, a fish seller, said that they are going through tough times in their fish business because most of their fishing supply is done by Senegalese. And since the Tobaski period, many of them left for Senegal and are yet to come back to the country.
We sometimes sit here from morning to evening and end up going home with nothing because the boats will also come with little or nothing to give to us to go and sell. This is because there are few people engaged in fishing because many left for Senegal and are yet to be back for their activities due to the regulation that they have to be quarantined. On the other hand, some of them cannot make it back here because of the lockdown. We used to buy one basket of fish for $2,500 or less, but lately we buy it for $3,500 or more.
She said that this is the reason why they also have to sell them at a high price to gain something after selling them at the market. She added that they did not intentionally increase the price for no reason. They added that things have to really go back to being smooth and easy for them because they are women trying to help their families through the fishing sector. That is the only thing they love and do best in order to earn a living. One of the fishermen, Babukar Keta, said that due to them being the suppliers, if they face difficulties in getting fish to supply them, it will also be difficult for them to sell at their normal prices. Keta concluded by declaring that the lack of fish is what has led to the increase in price.
The outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic has massively affected the media house in terms of its officials' production and programming. Star TV assessed the level of the impact on some media companies. Mode Albaji has more.
The government and the general public heavily depend on the media to access reliable information which help the government in policy making and other important issues. The media also serves as a source of entertainment to the general public, but the outbreak of the novel coronavirus has reframed the mood of media services. The Chief Executive Officer of Paradise TV, Haruna Drame, outlined the impact of the COVID-19 on media outlets.
COVID is very serious, and it has seriously impacted what we are doing here in terms of people, because we try to have less people at any one given point in time. That way the place is not crowded. Also, it has impacted us in huge ways because we now have to invest on preventative measures We've had the Red Cross come here on 2 or 3 occasions to fumigate the place. Our staff also, their welfare becomes important as to who comes in, what days they come in. So we tend to give a lot more time to our staff, and we're working at, say, half capacity, and in some cases even less than half.
Okay, so when it comes to broadcasting, how does it affect your media house? Because, you know, acquiring information or news articles, this is something which is hindering most of the media houses today.
It is a fact also, and obviously because people's attention is focused on COVID itself, a lot of the news stories we are doing is centered around COVID as how it affects the country, especially given the new developments in the last 4 weeks or so, where we see that the cases are increasing, there are more deaths, and the everyday cases are being reported. In one instance, there was 244 in one day, which was quite alarming. So it does affect what we do. Secondarily also, because not a lot of offices are open, not a lot of facilities are open, so it makes it very difficult to get news. And also some of our core programs, special interview, Harona, etc., that entails very close range interviews with people. We have also brought to an end for now, also seeing how we could continue them in the future. So it doesn't affect only the news itself, but it's impacted our whole spectrum of programming.
The editor-in-chief of QTV, Adie Drame, revealed that the advent of the virus has introduced new methods of operation. He also noted that media officials can conduct their interviews via Zoom and other modern means such as WhatsApp and Skype. Like other media houses, Adedrame reduced the number of his staff as part of efforts to mitigate the spread of the virus. In the institution, almost all the radio stations in the country rely on newspapers as their source of information. However, the printing entities have also been affected by the COVID-19, leading to the reduction in production. The co-publisher of the Point newspaper, Baba Hydra, shed light on how the COVID-19 has affected their services.
It hit hard all sectors. People are really struggling since then, and us also in the media we are facing similar, struggles in a daily basis. For us, we're dealing with a lot of issues. One of them is sales are down, also production, because normally with the production we used to have like more number of pages, and normally we cannot continue like that because the income is really not the same. So we have to also adapt, financially with the realities that we're going through with this COVID. So, but so far we're managing like all businesses, but it's really not easy,
The online TVs are also enduring a big challenge when it comes to accessing uninterrupted internet service. A senior staff of Gambia Talent TV, Fatou Samba, highlighted some of the problems they endure as an online platform.
Yes, one of our biggest challenge, especially the online medium, is internet. In Gambia, the internet quality is very poor, and many of the people, most of the people that we want to interview, they are like, okay, let's do it Zoom. But even the Zoom meetings that you want to do, sometimes you kind of have network problem, and that is a big distraction, because once your viewers are viewing and the network quality is bad, then you are not trying to defeat the purpose that you want to do. So that is a big challenge, the internet quality and also the internet cost, because there are some interviews that you cannot do in less than 10 minutes. There are interviews that you have to do, it should be a detailed interview, 1 hour interview. So the internet cost, I think during this COVID-19, GSM companies should try to reduce it for the media houses, because online is here to stay, and online is what is making headwaves in all over the world. Everybody use online. So if the internet wages is down, especially for media houses, that will help us so that we can also disseminate information. We cannot disseminate information when we are having restrictions, when we are having internet problems, when we are having, high cost of internet. That is why sometimes people will start to even question, are journalists working during this COVID-19? And I say, yes, journalists are working. My media house, we work 24/7, and people are going in and out just to look for information.
The Gambia media outlets have been working tirelessly in ensuring that they provide accurate information for the general public, but the coronavirus has nailed down most of the activities of the media houses. For Star TV, I am Modu Elbaji.
The youths of Kunkujang Ketia yesterday gathered in their large number at the Kunkujang football field to appeal to the government's intervention in their recent land issue with the Alcalo of the village. Yamuno Koko reports.
Land issues have been rampant in the country of late, and Kunkujang Ketia is the latest in conflict of land, as they are in a fight to secure their football field, which they allege part of it have been sold. Speaking at the gathering, the chairman of the village sports committee, Demba Sane, said that half of the field was sold by the Alcalo, which brought tension, and later the compound heads compensated them with $90,000 for them to fence the remaining perimeter of the field.
Basically, 40 meters. From the third line to there is 40 meters. So all these buildings touch part of the field premises. The Alcalo called the compound head for a meeting at the nursing school to let them know that parts of their compounds are inside the premises of the football field, and the youths have a right to break down the walls, whilst nothing will come out of it. So he asked them to compensate us so that we can fence the field. That was the time some of them agreed and compensated us. While we tried to fence the field, the Alcalo sold the other part of the field. That was how the problem started again. Whenever they dug their foundation, the youths will put sand in it. So in the end, the Alcalo called us again and told us that the lady he sold the land to will compensate us with $40,000.
Alhaji Usainu Ngom is the VDC chairman, and he lamented that the current situation of the village should be well and carefully dealt with before it goes beyond control. He also urges the youths to take things easy for a better solution.
There is a problem in this field that I want us to talk about, because dialogue is the solution to this problem. But using power can solve these issues. The VDC is aware of the dispute, and we have tried to talk with the authorities and the village Alcalo to let him know that the problem about the field can be addressed smoothly so that peace can prevail. But it seems like the Alcalo doesn't want us to talk about it, because when the problem started again, I went to him and told him that I wanted us to talk about the issue of the field again, because when the youth invited me to their football final, I went and they complained that there was someone who opened a welding workshop in the premises of their football field, and it wasn't supposed to be there. I have put the owner of the welding shop in the picture, but he insists that the Alcalo gave him that place and that's it.
Mr. Ngom further declared that he tried on several occasions to bring dialogue between the Alcalo, Hadim and the youths so that the issue could be easily settled, but he never got the attention of the Alcalo. Sana Jame was among the pioneers of the football field, and he stated that he had been detained on several occasions at the NIA during the former regime for fighting to have the field. He further narrated the current situation of the football field.
So ñu dem ci alkali té ñu dem ci alkali man boko na ci won ko né légui fu mu nek ni Kunkujang football field bi buñ am nursing school bi taxaw na fofu.
We had the nursing school, but before the school was built, it was fully a football field. When the school was built, we had limited space for football. That was the time we thought of another place. We then went to the Alcalo and told him about our need for a football field, because the previous one had been taken by the school. But the Alcalo's response was that he got no land to be given out. We had to see with others that owned the lands. Then we went to see my father, who gave us this place we are standing. That was how we got this field. By then, there was nothing around here. No single compound was built here.
mu ne leen man waaye Kunkujang la yéen suma i doom ngeen dem leen si àll bi empty land moo fa nekk xool leen fa la mbuga ñu nata seen football field.
Several youths showed their anger about the issue and blamed Chief Bojang for taking side with the Alcalo. The PRO of the sport committee, Boubacar Toure, said that the field was legally acquired from Mr. Sekou Conte, the Alcalo of the village, in consultation with the late Paramount Chief Alhaji Demba Sanyang in 2005. It was demarcated and a sketch plan was drawn and given to the youth with a letter supporting the transaction. Star TV tried to contact Chief Bojang for comments, but he was out of reach. Yamundo Kuka, reporting for Star TV News.
During the heavy rain of Tuesday night, bunglers made their way to the Serekunda market, where they broke into a SOP and a foreign exchange bank. Modu El Baji files in this report.
The introduction of a night curfew as part of government's measures to mitigate the further spread of the COVID-19 has generated a negative impact on shop owners. Key among them is burglary within the Greater Banjul area. However, the latest occurred at the Serekunda market. Mohamed Sise is one of the victims, and he had been selling at the market for more than 2 years. But for him, he said that he was not surprised about this incident, alleging that the way boys roam around their shop has always been a threat to them. It is not easy for one to be struggling to earn something for yourself, and all of a sudden, you encounter such a loss, he said.
The curfew is what has led to the increase in burglary, and it is the main reason why we are not in favor of all of the COVID-19 regulations. If we ask people to sleep by 10 p.m., you should ensure that you provide security for those individuals. But sleeping whilst one's mind is lingering on his or her business is not really easy. What they took from my shop is equivalent to around $30,000 worth of merchandise.
Alhaji Njai is a mobile shop owner. He revealed that this was the second time he encountered such at his shop since the introduction of the curfew.
They took all the Bluetooth speakers and mobile phone from my shop. In my perspective, this is all as a result of the curfew introduced by the government. Businessmen have been experiencing theft in this market. The government should look for other means of controlling the spread of the virus rather than the curfew.
The burglars enter the shop through the roof, whilst in other shops they get in by breaking doors. Moreover, the shop owners unanimously call on government to provide security at the market. For Star TV, I am Modu Elbaji.
Those were the local stories. We will be back with the international news after the short break.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jeja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jeja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gosh, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gosh Group also provides the best security company, Gosh Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gosh Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gosh on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gosh Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.global.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh.
And now beyond our borders, the United Nations and human rights groups are condemning United States sanctions imposed on the chief prosecutor and another officials of the International Criminal Court. It has been prompted by an investigation into whether U.S. forces committed war crime in Afghanistan. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has described the ICC as a congruent court. Al Jazeera Pichikaka reports.
Did U.S. troops torture people? Did they commit war crimes here in Afghanistan? Did the Taliban or the Afghan military? The International Criminal Court has been trying to find out, and now a new move from the Trump administration to try and stop them, at least when it comes to U.S. forces.
The United States will designate ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda and the ICC's head of jurisdiction complementarian cooperation division, Fakiso Mochichuko, for having material assisted prosecutor Bensouda. Individuals and entities that continue to materially support those individuals risk exposure to sanctions as well.
That means the chief prosecutor and the head of an ICC department could be frozen out of the international banking system, have any of their U.S. assets frozen. Human rights groups are outraged.
The practical effect could be significant for these individuals, but I think we also have to see how damaging it is to have a U.S. administration take this position and this kind of a full assault and disregard for the global rule of law that using these sanctions represents.
The spokesman for the UN Secretary General says the move raises concerns.
The ICC, as you know, and especially the prosecutor, are independent of the Secretary General and of the UN. We have always stood for the need for international justice and for the issue of accountability and the fight against impunity.
The U.S. has often used its vast power in the financial industry to punish war criminals, now using the same tactic to go after the very people who are charged with punishing them. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera.
Voters in the western Libyan city of Misrata are going to the polls on election Thursday to elect city leaders. Other towns in the region are also planning municipal elections, but they will not be happening nationwide. Alliance of renegade military commander Haftar have prevented voting in other areas. Al Jazeera Malik Trana reports from Misrata.
Misrata is Libya's third largest city and one of the first this year where municipal leaders are up for election. COVID-19 makes voting more challenging than previously, but election organizers have trained staff to take precautionary measures.
It is a challenge given the security situation in the country and now the COVID pandemic, but we have taken measures and are confident that we can carry out the elections in a safe and protective manner for voters.
Misrata and its half-million population is the main source of military power for the Tripoli-based government of National Accord. Soldiers from Misrata played a major role in the GNA's series of military victories that forced troops loyal to warlord Khalifa Haftar out of western Libya and towards the east. Abbas al-Kurdi fought to bring down Muammar Gaddafi 9 years ago and joined the fight against Haftar's failed military campaign to capture the capital, Tripoli, earlier this year. Badly wounded in battle, he's lost an eye and has had to get skin transplants on his face. He says he's tired of war and is excited to exercise his right to vote.
This is what we fought Gaddafi for, to vote for our leaders. If we wanted a dictator like Haftar, we would have kept Gaddafi. The only way to put Libya back on track is to have elections.
Calls for a ceasefire by the warring sides have been welcomed by most of the international community, but Haftar dismissed the ceasefire announcement by Libya's internationally recognized government as a marketing stunt. Government leaders in Tripoli have called for parliamentary and presidential elections to unify the country in March. The city elections in Misrata and those planned across western and southern Libya could help pave the way for nationwide elections, but GNA officials accused Haftar's forces of disrupting planned elections.
Unfortunately, in eastern Libya, they are going back to individual rule and they don't have the freedom to vote. Elected officials were removed from office.
Some Libyans here say voting is the only solution to the conflict, which has lasted years. But Haftar is removing elected city officials and issuing military orders to appoint their replacements. And with elections unlikely to be held in areas he controls, how and when the Libyan conflict will end remains unclear. Malik Traina, Al Jazeera, Misrata.
Zimbabwe's High Court has granted bail to an opposition politician and a freelance journalist who have been detained for 6 weeks. Police arrested them for insisting anti-government protests against mismanagement of economic and corruption. Al Jazeera Haru Mostaha has from the capital, Harare.
Hope Chingono's relatives show up at the High Court hoping for good news. The freelance journalist was arrested in July along with opposition leader Jacob Ngarivume. Both were charged with inciting public violence and had been in jail for more than 40 days. They deny the allegations. After several failed bail applications, finally some good news for them.
Of course, we are happy that our client has now been granted bail. That is the main purpose for us, was to ensure that he gets out. Of course, the fact that he has been incarcerated all this time is a huge injustice. These bail conditions are extremely strict. We feel that they are overly stringent. They do even restrict his constitutional rights.
The High Court judge banned both men from posting on social media until their case is finalized.
My spirit is not killed by this incarceration.
They also have to surrender their passports and to report to the police 3 times a week. But they say they will not be silenced. No trial date has been set.
Our hope for a new Zimbabwe is renewed and invigorated. We'll get there. We dream a Zimbabwe free of corruption, a Zimbabwe that respects human rights, and a Zimbabwe that respects the rule of law. And we'll never relent on that.
At a routine appearance in a lower court on Tuesday, the journalist complained about overcrowding and poor treatment in prison.
Yeah, I've been forced to come to prison. My doctor said I shouldn't come because I had a coronavirus test done yesterday. But the prison service has forced me to come against my doctor's advice. So how are you feeling? I've got a fever.
Human rights lawyers say dozens of people have been arrested since July, accused of planning or participating in protests against corruption and the state of the economy. Representatives from South Africa's ruling ANC party are expected in Harare within a few days to assess the situation here. Zimbabwe's government says there is no crisis and that allegations of human rights abuses are false. But activists and opposition leaders insist government leaders are persecuting anyone who speaks out against them. President Emmerson Mnangagwa's administration says opposition groups are being sponsored by the United States and some countries in the EU to cause chaos. Haru Mutasa, Al Jazeera, Harare.
And before we end the news, a quick recap of our main headlines. NOREC top officials visit new water plants treatment projects. Lady Sergeant Barlow received medical equipment and face masks from SMJ. Fishing sector seriously affected by COVID-19 regulations. Negative impact of COVID-19 on media outlets. Kunkujan Ketia youths appeal for government intervention in their land dispute. Bunglers break into shops at Serekunda Market. On the international scene, International Criminal Court condemns US sanction on officials. Libya's GNA Haftar alliance disrupted municipal elections in East. Zimbabwean protest leader freed on bail in 4th attempt. That's all for this edition of the news. Please enjoy the rest of our programs and thanks for watching.